Hello, this is Matthew Robert Payne, and this is part two of an interview with Freddie Mercury in heaven. I'm not sure how many parts we're going to have, maybe four parts. This is going to be question six. We covered five questions in the first part. Um, just just a basic message for people, religious Christians, which we're all religious and
Mm,
have grown up in religion. But there's a lot of Christians who don't believe that God can do what he likes. Uh,
mm,
a lot of Christians have this opinion that God has to do what they believe. Um,
mm.
and Christians have this mistaken, erroneous uh, heresy founded belief that someone's got to say a one paragraph sinner's prayer to make it to heaven. Um, they're so indoctrinated with that belief that they absolutely don't believe that a non-Christian can go to heaven. Um,
Oh, wow.
and that's not God's fault, that's their fault, because they've got a narrow-minded understanding of things and basically, essentially, just one verse. Unless you become a born again, unless you become born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. They don't even realize that the kingdom of heaven is not being born again, but it's actually operating in the supernatural, which most Christians don't. Um, so I find it very offensive, and I don't particularly ask saints why they believe they're in heaven because it's not my job to ask them about that. They're in heaven because God chose them to be in heaven. God's got a whole Bible replete with understandings and verse meanings and passages and understandings, which give him the right to be the judge and to choose who goes to heaven. There's a verse in Matthew, "Blessed are
Mm.
the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Does that verse say, "Blessed are the pure in heart who are Christians"? For they shall see God? Or does it say the pure in heart? Because Princess Diana had a really pure heart. Michael Jackson had a really pure heart. Freddie Mercury had a really pure heart. So does that verse in Matthew need to be edited? And blessed in are the pure in heart, except clause one, except clause two, except clause three. Unless clause one, unless they're gay, clause two, unless they're not a born again Christian, um, clause three, unless they come from another religion. Or does it simply say, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God"? Um, so this little diatribe before the interview is just my upset response to a question that was posted on a video one. Another question that was posted on video one was how could he be in a higher realm and have a mansion in heaven uh, if rewards are handed out to people who do the works of the gospel. If Freddie Mercury wasn't a Christian, how could he be doing works of the gospel? Um, that shows a serious lack of understanding of what the gospel is. The gospel of Christ can be best defined as love, loving
Mm.
other people, doing expressions and activities of love is what best describes the gospel. I know that people are Christians. I think saying that one paragraph sinner's prayer and doing years of religious activity makes them better than people. But if someone is loving to everyone they meet and forgiving and gracious and compassionate, if someone gives millions of dollars to charity to help other people, and expresses his love, isn't he just like the guy Cornelius in Acts, that his good works brought him the attention of God? Um, would you possibly believe if Cornelius had a good heart and Peter hadn't saved him, do you think Cornelius would have gone to hell? Um, of course, it's a good thing to be a Christian and to know the Holy Spirit and to be led by Christians, but I frankly haven't got much time for Christians. I find them to be very rude and judgmental and full of religion. And I find my best fun is with my carers who are Christians, who don't poke fun at me and don't take shots at me, take cheap shots at me. Um, so anyone who expresses love and does a great effort in love gets reward in heaven, and a person doesn't particularly need to be a Christian to have a house built for them in heaven. Another thing is there's a common misconception that everyone in heaven gets mansions, and many people are just regular people who don't really do anything for God, don't really express much love in the world, aren't really useful when it comes to lifestyle, and they just have regular houses in heaven. Not everyone in heaven has a mansion because they're not deserving of a mansion. Yeah. Uh, so that's like a prequel. If uh, if you go to video number one, you'll be able to see the questions that were just answered, and I hope that we can continue this series without uh, being directed to answer certain questions. So, um, with that being said, I hope that uh, gave you some feedback and some understanding. Just remember, God is the judge. He's the one
Mm,
who decides who goes to heaven and who doesn't. And maybe God understands his Bible better than
mm,
you and knows who can and can't come to heaven.
mm. Thank you, Matthew, and welcome, Freddie. So excited to hear from you again today. So hopefully this is going to be an interesting interview as well. So my first question is, how has your creative process evolved in heaven? Do you still compose music or express yourself artistically in new ways?
So uh, the second half of the question, do I compose? Do I express myself artistically in new ways? One of the promotions in heaven, you can be promoted for doing good in heaven. And when you're in heaven, things are always evolving. You may
Mm,
start out doing a certain thing, and the longer you're in heaven, the more you grow in your relationship with Christ, the more responsibility you're given. And just like Michael Jackson and Princess Diana, I've become a teacher, and I'm a
mhm.
music teacher in the
Oh,
classes, and I teach music, I teach piano, I teach uh, guitar, I teach different instruments, and I teach music composition and writing poetry, and I teach the fundamentals of music and English. I teach people how to read music and how to play music. Uh, and I've got a range of students between 8 and 14, um, and I work with different classes and stuff. Um, so that's one thing I do. I also studied philosophy in heaven, and I've read all the greats in philosophy over time and released two books are full of philosophy of my own, and you may be someone listening questioning me saying, what's philosophy got anything to do with heaven? Well, I could ask you, what have you got anything to do with heaven? With your judgmental religious attitudes. Um, so, so I teach philosophy in heaven. I studied it so well and wrote a couple of books on philosophy. Basically, did a degree in philosophy in heaven, and I've become
Wow.
a lecturer in that subject. So I teach children. I lecture at university in philosophy, and that's why Mary Magdalene is a great mentor, because she's a mystical person, and she has so much depth and understanding. Um,
Mm.
so, returning to the beginning of the question, how has your creative process evolved in heaven? Do you still compose music? Um, so, yes, I still write music. Rather than I'm close to Jesus and I'm growing in my relationship with Jesus and God. I get on better with God. Uh, Basically, because I needed a father figure, and he's become a father figure. The same as Bob Payne, Matthew's father has become like a father, like a figure for me. Um, but I really get on with God. But there's different forms of competition in heaven. There's classical music competitions. Uh, there's
Mm.
not rap music. Matthew's not being religious, but there's not rap music in heaven, um, and not the standard. Uh, People make Christian rap, but it's not as powerful. And um, but there's classical music compositions and competitions, and um, there's two charts mainly in music. There's a worship chart, a chart of worship songs, and there's a contemporary songs like ballads and songs about your life and songs about emotions and how you're changing. And I write best in that genre. So you could say Christian music and contemporary music, or Christian music and worldly sort of music. And I write most of my songs in that genre. So uh, Michael writes songs in both, and does well with songs in both. And I write mainly in the contemporary ones. I've had a few
Mm.
wins in heaven when I release a song. Normally does pretty well in heaven, but you have to understand that heaven exists with all the musicians from 2,000 years since
Wow.
Christ. Well, even before the 2,000 years before Christ, people before Christ went to heaven too. Jesus took them to heaven. Um, so you're competing with thousands of musicians each week and thousands of songs uh, standing in line to be competed with. So getting in the top five is like a miracle. You have to be extraordinary. And Michael, I'm happy to say that Michael is extraordinary. He's an extraordinary human being, and he's just gone on tenfold and become more and more pure. And he's uh, he's become more purified in the last few months in heaven because he's been tapping into the sufferings of Christ. And John Lennon brought that forward in John Lennon's interview and in his book. And Michael has been writing some really powerful music with John and Toulouse's husband. Um, I have been transformed by the relationships in heaven. On earth, I was pretty lonely. I didn't have many people that I connected with, and I was used and abused. On earth, people took advantage of me, but I've developed like a really close and intimate relationship with Michael and Princess Diana and John Lennon and even Mary Magdalene. And um, I write about friendship. I write about real love. I write about romantic love that I had for Mary and my male partner that I had, before I died. Um, I write about struggle and circumstance. I, uh, I write about Jesus' struggle and Jesus' loneliness and Jesus' sadness and Jesus' frustration and the Father's anger. I write about all these things, and I because I've been mixing with John for many years. I've known about the sadness and the depression and the anger of God, and I've channeled that into my writing and written songs that make you think. I'm not one that has to win competitions, even though I was popular on Earth. I don't have to be popular on heaven. I don't have to be one of heaven's most popular musicians. Um, but we have a database that tells us musicians how many people download each song, and we're aware of who's listening to our music, and we're aware of how many people have listened to a particular song each week in heaven. And like Matthew, I'm constantly checking my figures. I'm constantly being pedantic over that thing. And I release another song that's going into more depth about a former song. And I watch not only the new song become popular in heaven and get a lot of downloads, but I watch the former song that it was based on getting popular again or having more people download it. Because there's a continued progression in your relationship with God and a continual progression in your maturity in heaven. There's a progression in your music, and people who followed me years ago still follow, and it's like in some way different to Earth's music. They're maturing like me, uh, just like someone may have read Matthew's books from 9 years ago. If they read his books now, they'd see a change in Matthew. They'd see more freedom and happiness and joy and contentment in what Matthew writes. And similarly, people who follow in heaven can see the progression. I've got philosophical and deep and mystical things that I say in songs, and there's an opportunity for so many different genres of music in heaven. I've learned to play classical guitar, classical piano, and I've released classical uh, uh, songs on albums, and people who love uh, you know Mozart and all the famous classical musicians can hear me uh, playing those songs. I uh, I was wrong before. There is rap in heaven. That was just a judgment made by Matthew, but it's not the rude and terrible rap that's on earth. Uh, I uh, There's a rap musician on earth that you can look up called Tom McDonald, and he sings clean rap, and he's a Christian, he's a believer, um, and so sometimes I'll talk to Mary or I'll talk to John, who's mystical too, and they'll say something really deep and profound, and I'll write a whole song about that thought, of that idea. Um, and oftentimes my philosophy and my deep thinking comes into my songs, and I really enjoy my songs. There's certain songs that I write that I really love, that I put my whole heart into, and I've got like a band in heaven that I collaborate. Matthew uh, isn't aware of any of my band members that may have died and come to heaven. Um, but I have a band in heaven that I perform with, and we collaborate together and write songs together. Um, but like in Queen, I was sort of like the manager of the band and the leader of that, and I take leadership role very seriously. And so, yeah, I normally how's the creative process evolved in heaven? Not much has changed. It's just you don't have to go on tours and travel the whole world. There's not the pressure of having a hit in heaven or having your songs played on the radio or uh, traveling and getting your album out to people. Uh, there's no real pressure in heaven to perform or to be popular. On earth, uh, you'd release a popular album and it would sell really well. And then your next album was expected to be great too. And people sort of put pressure on whether you could produce an album just as good as a follow-up album. And then when you had two outstanding albums, people would be expecting the third. And if you released an album like the fourth album and it wasn't as good as the first three, people would be saying in the press that you're losing your touch, that you're becoming out of touch with society, and you've lost your edge. And so there was this constant pressure on you to write and perform really extraordinary songs. And some songs are great, some songs aren't. And but on Earth, there was this constant pressure to perform, and there's none of that pressure in heaven, but all the upside is there in heaven. So you can win a competition in heaven and get extraordinary praise and get a lot of popularity, and people really come to know your music and really give you feedback on the database, where you can tell which songs are being downloaded and how often they're being streamed and listened to. It's also a place where fans can write in and give commentary on your songs and give you feedback and even suggest musical changes or lyric changes in the songs. And they can get one stanza of a chorus or a verse in your song, and they can rewrite the words and suggest that change. And we've already covered how time can expand and decrease in heaven, or other saints have talked about that. You can basically get 2 weeks of time in 1 second. You can sit down for 1 second and it increased to be 2 weeks of time, but it's only ever been 1 second. So you can sit down on your computer for 10 minutes, but be like 2 weeks of worth of time. And so you can read through all your comments and give comments to people's feedback and interact with people. And some people regularly write in, and they're good musicians, and or they're good at giving you commentary and feedback. And you can over what's the database messages back and forth. You can develop a relationship with these regular commenters, and even arrange to meet them for coffee and develop a friendship with them. And I'm not sure about you, it's probably true for most people, but it's good to have people in your life that build you up and are full of encouragement and uplifting. It's good to have people commenting on what you do and giving you praise. And so it's good to have people like that in your life. And Matthew knows and appreciates that himself. And so some of my friends in heaven are regular listeners that some people would call fans, but they've become more than a fan, they've become a friend. And some of those people are musicians, and I'll sit down with them when I'm composing a song and let them edit the lyrics before I actually release the song. Um, and so I've grown with some popular um, things, and that's, I suppose, that's one way the creative process has evolved. Like, a band on Earth doesn't get consultation with fans on how to write lyrics better and how to get feedbacks on lyrics. There's really not many bands on Earth that listen to their fans about suggested lyric changes or changes to their songs. A band on Earth basically releases a song, and then there really is no change to it over time. So that that reporting system of that database is really unique to heaven. And you can when someone writes a good comment or a good review on heaven, there's a button that you can press, become Facebook friend, for our Facebook in heaven. So if a fan writes a really nice review, they you press that button and they get a friend request, and they know uh, that Freddie Mercury has sent them a friend request, and they notice that the review caught your attention, and now you're a personal friend with theirs. And so that's really good. So hope did you enjoy what I had to say there, Tulu?
Yes, I did enjoy that. It just lets you know that there's proper friendship in heaven. It's not like the type of friendship which exists here, where most of the time people are not really your friend, but you categorize them as friends, but that's not friendship. Proper friendship exists in heaven with the way you've been saying it, that it's not just being a fan, but there are some as well that you've developed relationship with, and being able to have impact and review on your books, on your musics. It just shows how heaven is fashion is fashioned so differently from the way heart is. You're always competing against each other on heart. I know there's competition in heaven, but that's more of a lovely, friendly competition, not a competition that is so tense like it is here. And you did say about the pressure as well of continually always being the best, which exists currently on heart, and a lot of great musicians that are under this pressure constantly. And we, the fans, probably don't know majority of the time that they are under this pressure that they need to always prove themselves, always be on the top, which sometimes it can impact their mental health or lead them to smoking or taking drugs, all of these things, just in a way, just to cope with the pressure that you do experience on. I know, Freddie, I did say yesterday that I knew absolutely nothing about you. Oh, I was able to do some research yesterday and based on what Matthew said, Tolu, let's watch this movie together. That apparently the movie brought a lot of great millions of pounds when the movie was created. People really fell in love with you again through those movie. I didn't finish the movie, but I went into YouTube just to watch some of the things about your life because I just wanted to put a face to who I'm speaking with. And I am really so much uh I really fell in love with who you are, your characteristics, your creativity, and the way you've presented yourself when you were in this way. You're so unique. You're just like Michael Jackson, like when you have those people that's so different and you cannot compare them to other people, they just stand out. That's because I could see the energy while you're performing. I'm like, where does Freddie got this such energy from? And I just fell in love with that creativity and the value which you do pride in, like loyalty. I read from reading you, I was able to come to that conclusion that you're such a loyal person, which is some of the things I really love as well. And or a lot of things that you said about John Lennon in those one of your books I'm currently reading, it talks about your love for John Lennon and how you were able to create some music with Michael as well when you were on Heart. So it's just good for you to continue that fellowship in heaven as well. It doesn't stop here on Heart. You could still come together with John, with Michael, and still have a good conversation. Maybe I don't know whether you've created any music together, but I can see that heaven is so much a different atmosphere to what we experience here on Earth. So thank you, Freddie, for that response. My next question is, have you reunited with any of your bandmates, loved ones, or friends in heaven? And how have those relationships developed?
Do you want to type into Google now? Has any of Freddie Mercury's bandmates gone to heaven or have passed away?
Mm.
Matthew has no idea of this, and his parents have passed away. And
Yes, your parents. Yes, I'm sure of that. Freddie. I think it's just Freddie Mercury. I think they're still here.
right, so Matthew's very cautious on speaking about things that he doesn't know. So my parents are in heaven, and I dearly love them, and
Oh,
and I had a strange relationship with my father on earth, but things have been resolved in heaven. But honestly, knowing Michael for years and John, I have got to know Matthew's father and mother, and they have become like a father and mother in heaven. Um, uh, but largely, my relationships in heaven have been with strangers that I mentioned in the last question, who've become friends who deeply appreciate me. And the other major friends have been Princess Diana, Michael Jackson, John Lennon, and Mary Magdalene. And Jesus is a very close friend. So each of them have remarkable characteristics, and there's a DNA of Jesus in every one of them. Scripture says that as Christians, we should be conformed into the image of Christ. So another saint mentioned it recently that sometimes when Mary speaks, it's like Jesus is speaking through her. She's so closely aligned to Jesus, and Jesus is such a joy to speak to, and as is the Father. And John Lennon is very deep, and Michael is very loving and gracious, and Princess Diana is just a wonderful soul, and I really enjoy spending time with each of them, and we we go out as a foursome, and we really enjoy ourselves. I'm looking forward to Mary coming to heaven, who I knew on earth, and I, uh, I, I, I've found like a wonderful capacity to love since I've been in heaven. I, there's just so the people of heaven are just so warm and so loving and so accepting, and it's hard to be lonely in heaven. So many people are gracious, and even total strangers in the street will approach me and say how they enjoy my music and mention specific songs and share lyrics out of the songs that they actually like. And it's different to work because people don't want something from you. Like they don't want your money, they don't want your success, they don't want your fame. They just genuinely want to give you some feedback and tell you that they love you. And it's just so refreshing to live in an environment where people don't want to use you and abuse you. And um, Matthew can't understand how it would be to have fans and have people who know your music and know all about all your songs, but they don't really know you. They don't know your personal life. They don't know your struggles. They don't know anything about you, but they just know and love your music. And Matthew appreciates people giving comments on his videos, and he appreciates people writing feedback and reviews on his Amazon books. But he doesn't often meet people or know people in person who've read his books or appreciate him. And it's just an amazing thing to meet a fan and be able to sit down and have a coffee with them or have a meal with them, and them go through song after song after song after song and tell you every lyric that impresses them and every part of the music that impresses them. And most of the people, part of the uniform in heaven is, is having like an iPad that people carry around. They use it for everything. So uh, a lot of people in heaven have got like a satchel that they carry over the uniform, and the iPad is in that bag, and they carry it everywhere. So you'll notice when God does conversations or saints do conversations in heaven and people are in a stadium, they've all got their iPad. They didn't bring it out just for that conversation. They've always got it on them. So I'll be sitting at a restaurant with a fan, and they'll get out the iPad and they'll pull up a song and they'll play the song, and they'll be able to sing the song with me or point out the lyrics of the song and comment on the song. And so it's really handy. Imagine being on Earth and everyone interacting over iPads. Um, and it's just fascinating, another dimension of heaven. Um, my mother and father dearly love me, and I do spend time with them once a week. I met Bob and June, Matthew's parents, and um, they're really happy for me in every way.
Um, Thank you. I know this is not part of the question, but I did notice that when I was reading your book yesterday that when you were unwell, you intentionally stopped taking your medication at a time in order to speed up your passing away. How did you feel passing away at such a young age?
It's can't say the word that comes to Matthew's mind that I said is it's always distressing for someone to
Mm,
pass away at an early age. It can be distressing for someone to pass of cancer or AIDS or some sort of disease as terminal. Um, to get warning about that and to be languishing and getting more and more unwell is a sad way to
mm,
go and really breaks the heart of your loved ones. It's hard to see your loved ones suffering with the pain of impending loss. Um,
mm,
I was ready to meet my maker. I had
mm,
peace with meeting my maker, and I had no uh, inclination that I'd be going to a dark place or hell. I had confidence in who I was, and I had confidence that I lived a good life, even though I had hundreds of sexual partners. I knew that I was a good person, and I was gracious and kind, and I did a lot of good works. And I know some of you will be listening to this or reading this as a Christian and saying, good works don't get you to heaven. Feeling good doesn't get you to heaven. And uh, being uh, uh, consensual repeat offender as a gay person will take you to hell. Um,
mm,
and you can have your opinions and you can have your thoughts and just keep them to yourself. Don't be writing reviews on Amazon of this book and disparaging it. Although now that I've said it, you probably will. Um, uh, but keep your thoughts to yourself. And so it's
mm.
hard for my loved ones. Matthew found one part of being mentally ill that was hard for him was that his parents suffered with his mental illness when Matthew was sick or in hospital. He was worried about how worried his parents were, and that can happen when you're dying of something your loved ones are really grief stricken.
Thank you, Freddie, because it just makes me sad each time. I just wonder why a lot of lovely people, why do they die early? The people that are really kind-hearted. And you just wonder the why, God, why do you take them from us early? Because I know a lot of people were distraught when you passed away. And you said something, you said you were at peace with God. That's really beautiful because I know that was one of the things that my husband did tell me when he was passing away last year, May, and it was like, I'm at peace with God. But just like what you said, it was so sad for me to see him going through all of those last 6 months of being unwell and just seeing him just deteriorate day by day. It's such a mental torture. And at the same time, when the person passes away, you're still in between. Do I want to let go? But you don't want to keep with that person the way they are. They need to be at peace as well with their God. And it's so beautiful that you knew that you were a loving person, you are a kind person, even though we will judge you as opposite, especially when you said you've got a lot of sex partners and you'll be like, oh, so what makes you good? Like having those sin in your life, or I understand it better now that what God looks at is totally different. And I wish Christians as well, their eyes can be open to the fact that God does not look at his creation the way we look at them, and God looks at our heart and he looks how kind-hearted we are. Because I know there still will be some people that will be questioning, why are you in heaven? How did you get to heaven with the lifestyle, with the music that you used to create while you were here on earth? So, but I could see how lovely you were just from the story I read about yourself, your relationship with Mary, and how you were loyal to her till the end, even though you never got married. That really touched my heart, and it just tells me that is real love. That is the type of love that we need in our society today, which does not exist anymore. So I bet you saying in heaven, you experience real love because people are not befriending you because they've got anything to gain, but because they just want to do it. And you being a famous person must have been difficult to know who to trust, who not to trust. But Mary knew you before money came, before fame came. So maybe that was one of the reasons why you so much trusted her. And she's never let you down anyway, even in your absence. Based on what I've read, she's done her best to keep your secret and every other thing that you discuss. And really happy to hear that. So thank you, Freddie. My next
But
question is what?
we're going to close it early because Matthew's getting a little tired. Um,
Okay.
but I just want to I just want to share with you that God is just so much more amazing than you give him credit for. Matthew's got a series called God's Last Days Message to His Children. And he's currently, as of this video, he's got 4 books in the series, and the 5th book is getting edited now. Um, really encourage you to read that series to know more about God, and he provides some answers. If you've got questions about this video and things I've been saying, Matthew's got a book called How to Hear God's Voice. Um, buy that book, learn how to speak to God, have two-way conversations with God, and ask him some of the questions that you find difficult for yourself. Don't be writing comments to Matthew saying, ask Freddie this question, or asking Matthew questions about this. If you know God, approach God.
Mm,
And if you're reading this book in the future and you've got questions, and most of the questions will come from born again Christians, um, just just accept the fact that you don't really know God, um,
mm.
and
Wow.
you don't know every answer to every question. Um, just because you're born and brought up with this idea that a person has to say a sinner's prayer and has to become born again to be saved doesn't mean you're actually right about that. So
Mm,
if you listen to this video to this point, please press like. If you've listened to this video and you want to comment, please comment. Um, this video is going to be part of a playlist called Famous People in Heaven. Um, God bless you and keep you. And if this is the first video you've seen of Matthew, consider subscribing to his channel. God bless.